And then scientists were digging and found out, wait a minute, our sun is a massive fireball. Yes, constantly replenishing itself, but no oxygen. That's why the guys have to wear the visor, and if they open it, they go out and get pushed out from their uniform and they don't come back. Because oxygen and fuel. Sun has neither of those, yet it's burning consistently. And if it goes out, well, it's going to be cold outside, colder than you've ever seen. But the sun is replenishing itself. But it's also shrinking slightly. Shrinking slightly every year. So this is what the Imam is trying to get across to you, that don't think this fire is like a normal fire like how you understand. We can't even deal with the natural gas on the stove when you light it with the lighter, or you bring it on and you jump back because you can smell the burn from your clothes when you sniff them and your clothes, they have that slight burnt smell. Or when the hair on your arm accidentally gets caught. Or when you've got a piece of clothing that's hanging down and there's the mad rush to put it out and all these other things. You can't deal with that. How on earth will humanity have to deal with and be able to deal with what's coming? When you hear people self-righteously say, well, if I don't believe, I guess I'll just have to go. As if it's like going to Bermuda when you've got the possibility to go to the Bahamas. This is deeper than that. But people take it lightly. Before returning, just remember this statement of the Prophet ﷺ, the heat of the fire being so great that the people approaching, they're not in it yet, approaching, that the skin from their skull just peels off and evaporates. That's the type of fire that you're talking about. That's the type of fire that you're talking about. Imam Ibn Al-Jawzi rahimahullah, he then says, quote, prepared for the unbelievers means that it has been brought about in a way most severe for them. This terror to them by means of the fire is when they did not come with the likeness of the Qur'an, because they deny the Qur'an. And they are incapable of coming with its likeness. So the proof has been established upon them. And their differing with the proof becomes their being obstinate. And the reward for the obstinate ones that reject the truth and deny it when it comes is the fire of conflagration. And so Allah the Exalted then tells us, moving to the topic of the believers, وَبَشِّرِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ أَنَّ لَهُمْ جَنَّاتٍ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارِ. And so give glad tidings to those who believe. This is a glad tiding, a joyful thing. And the first news given to the human being is glad tidings, because hopefully he takes heed in the glad tidings. And if it is good, and if he takes heed from it, then he takes heed from the truth of it and the good spreads out. If it's wickedness, then he doesn't take heed from the wickedness and it becomes a general thing. And it comes to him suddenly after the glad tidings. Now sometimes the expression bushra can be used to refer to evil things. Like when Allah says, بَشِّرِ الْمُنَافِقِينَ بِأَنَّ لَهُمْ عَذَابًا عَلِيمًا. So give bushra to the hypocrites that they have a punishment that is coming. Surah An-Nisa, the 4th Surah, 138. Close quote. Again, this is another one of those words like jaza. Bushra or bashir can mean to give glad tidings of. And so when someone says bashir as-sabirin or bashir al-munafiqeen, give glad tidings. In that ayah, Allah says bashir al-munafiqeen, give glad tidings to the hypocrites of a punishment that's coming. What? No, inform them of the punishment or give them the news of the punishment that's coming, right? The jaza of the unbelievers. Jaza, they're being rewarded? No. They're receiving a punishment. And so that's why we said before to be careful by telling someone just jazakallah, because Allah reward you, but it could also mean Allah give you what you deserve. Allah punish you. So the expressions have to be used carefully. So sometimes you have a word in Arabic that can hold a double meaning. And you have examples of this in English sometimes, of breath and breathe, bathe and bath, right? Although they're spelled the same, in Arabic sometimes you'll have a word, just one word, that composes two meanings. And so you have to look at what's being used. It's not good news what the hypocrites are receiving, but it's the news of the punishment that they're receiving. Imam Ibn Al-Jawzi rahimahullah then says, quote, as for the statement, and they do righteous deeds, this has to do with every good righteous deed that is done. It is narrated from Uthman ibn Affan that he said, be sincere in righteous deeds. Be sincere. It is also narrated from Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu that he said, establishing the compulsory prayers is what's being referred to regarding righteous deeds. As far as the use of the word Jannat, paradises, or gardens, it is the plural of Jannah. And the paradise is named as a garden due to the land and the place there coming from the word Jannah used in our speech of when an area is enclosed with trees and it is lush. It is a hidden and sanctified and place kept safe from the prying eyes of others who may want to look in. Just as a jinn is named jinn, the same root word, because the jinn are hidden in their own place. Infant, janeen, is used because the infant is hidden through layers of skin and darkness. And so this has to do with the expression used that it's the covering. Some have also mentioned, al-Mufaddal and others, that the use of the word Jannah means every garden that has a palm tree within it. As Zujaj has also said that every form of vegetation, heavy form of vegetation that is plentiful and they cover one another, this is called a Jannah. Close quote. Just as a quick clarifying point. In Arabic, if you talk about going to the park or going to the garden, you don't say, this is how much the Qur'an's impacted Arabic. You don't say, oh, I'm going to the Jannah. Because the Arabs will do one of two things. They'll either say, oh, he's new, he doesn't know. Or they'll say, subhanallah, what is he claiming, this brother or this sister? Because normally they'll say, I'm going to Al-Hadiqa is the garden or the park, or Al-Bustan will be when you're taking the kids to the garden or somewhere like that. Al-Hadiqa will sometimes be the place around there, or the zoo, Hadiqat al-Hayawan, the zoo, or the Hadiqa where you have the garden in front of your house or a place where you grow vegetables. But you don't, although the words are all synonyms, you don't use Al-Jannah or Jannah for normal earthly things, because the penetration of revelation is so great into Arabic that people just don't use that. They don't use that word for referring to that. They just don't do it. And so if you do it at one point, just as people who are learning Arabic or speaking Arabic, and you just happen to say to them, yes, shall we go to the Jannah? He'll say, yeah, inshallah, we believe in Allah. Shall we? Like right now, he's thinking, is this brother trying to say something? We should commit suicide? Or a'udhu billah. What's this brother trying to do? Because he's thinking totally different, because they don't use that expression. So it's hadiqa or bustan that you're going to use, right? You may have this, but you may say bustan instead, but it's bustan. So it's bustan or hadiqa, both of these expressions. Imam Ibn Al-Jawzi rahimahullah then says, quote, as for the expression under which flow, the rivers that are flowing are from under the trees, not under the land of the paradise, but under the trees, due to the expression grammatically being analyzed. We then have the second statement, كلما رزقوا منها من ثمرات رزقا قالوا هذا الذي رزقنا من قبل وأوتوا به متشابها. This is that which we were sustained with from before. There are 3 points to this. One is that it's referring to that which we had consumed and eaten and tasted before. So the sustenance of now is like the sustenance of yesteryear. as related by Ibn Abbas, Al-Dhahak, and Muqatil. And secondly, is that which we'd been subsisted with before in the earthly life, as said by Mujahid and Ibn Zayd. And thirdly, is that the vegetation and fruit of the paradise, when it is brought, when they see what is being brought, they take pleasure in it, and they feel that they feel calm and at ease, and they feel fullness. Just as it's been said, this is that which we were sustained with from before. This has been also mentioned and recited differently by Yahya ibn Abi Kathir and Abu Ubaidah. As for the statement, and so give them that which is like it, and that which they had before, there are 3 points to this. Number one is that which is in the paradise will seem similar to that which they've seen by color or form in the earthly life, but it's different in taste. As is mentioned by Mujahid, Abu al-Aliya, Al-Dhahak, As-Sudai, and Muqatil. Secondly is that it is similar in its nobility and its beauty. There are no flaws in this food and vegetation, as stated by Al-Hasan and Ibn Jurayj. Thirdly, that it is similar to the vegetation and herbage and fruit in the earthly life in creation and name only, but it is better in look, taste, and form, as said by Qatada and Ibn Zayd. If someone should say, what is the reasoning for them being given food like it? And what is the benefit of that when they're being given these foods that are different colors and tastes, when they resemble foods from this life? They should be answered and told that if we should say that it is similar in look, but different in taste, this is even more strange to the creation. If you saw an apple that tasted like all the rest of the fruits, this would be dumbfounding to you, because one apple tastes like every other single fruit. But if we say it is like those other fruits in its beauty and its splendor and its existence, but it's different to them in its color and in its taste. If we should say that it's similar in form to the vegetation and the fruitage of the earthly life, although it means something different, or it has a different taste and form, this is even more amazing and more strange, because all of these things are coming from the knowledge on the subject of the paradise that we only have in front of us. Close quote. What the Imam is referring to is the fact that someone may say, well, wait a minute, if these foods look like them, then why are they going to taste different? Imam Ibn Al-Jawzi, rahimahullah, his answer is because in the paradise, there'll be all these different things. So you wouldn't expect in the paradise to have, like he gave the example of an apple that tastes like all the other fruit, right? Because Allah has put all the other beautiful things. He said, so if the apple was like all the rest of the fruit and all the fruit tasted the same, he said, this is even more strange, because Allah is Al-Jamil, He's the most beautiful, He's the Lord over all. So why would you only receive only a small section of Allah's bounty and not the fullness of it? So there'll be things that resemble what you see, but then in another ayah in the Qur'an, Surah Al-A'raf, Allah says there'll be other than what you've seen. So there's things in there, like in the hadith in the Sahih of Imam Muslim, where the Prophet ﷺ said that he saw colors he can't describe. So some of the things may look familiar to the person, like in Surah Muhammad, the 47th Surah, Allah mentions rivers of milk. So the milk may look similar, rivers of honey, rivers of water.